What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Chae Cole, and I'm super excited to get into another episode. So let's hop into it. And the episode was so nice, I got to run it back twice. Love is Blind Part 2. We'll talk a little bit more, just to go a little bit deeper into what I mentioned in the previous episode, just to kind of touch on some things that maybe I might have glanced over or skipped over and maybe didn't provide enough detail. This was not planned, and so let's talk about it. And I read to you um, First Corinthians uh, chapter 7, verse 7, and again, this is the Message version. It says, "Sometimes I wish everyone were single like me, a simpler life in many ways, but celibacy is not for everyone any more than marriage is. God gives the gift of single life to some, the gift of the married life to others." And I know when I read that, a lot of times the singles are like, well, they ain't talking about me. This is not a gift. I'm ready to be booed up. I'm ready to be baited up, whatever. And I understand. Just how difficult it is. But I also want to encourage us as singles, as people who may have that desire, not to idolize married life. And because that's intentional, because that's important, because oftentimes within Christian culture, within culture in and of itself, we tend to idolize marriage and idolize really a wedding day and a fantasy that is implanted into us with cartoons, with Disney movies. It's always the princess who finds her prince charming. And we kind of grow up in this cycle of just wanting to have that, right? And desiring that. Especially for the women out there, especially for the ladies out there. I understand how that can be something that you typically want, you typically desire. But as I said in the last episode, we have to be careful with that and looking to other people's marriages or having those relationship goals, if you will, in other relationships that we see either on the gram or even within our personal journeys and within our personal walks. There may be some couples that you look up to, but even then, it's important to know that your relationship will be unique. The one that God gives you, are there things that you can glean from and learn from? Absolutely. I'm not saying don't take wise counsel, don't take advice from other successful couples, and those that even those successful couples have their issues, is what I'm trying to say. And so we often put on pedestals those whose relationships, or those who walks in Christ, even we place them on pedestals without doing or understanding the totality of the relationship in and of itself. And I'm not saying you have to understand everyone's business. I'm saying you have to evaluate with a sober mind the relationships that you look up to, even mentors, even pastors, preachers, right? People that you look up to, role models. You have to guard your heart against those things, because then that is what breeds the idolization, when you think that they're so great, they're this, they're that. And even to your future spouse, your future husband, your future wife, right? There are things that you can start to idolize about that person as you enter into those relationships. And so when I say singleness is a gift, or the word says singleness is a gift, as Paul describes it, we understand he wasn't married, right? And so he can speak to it from that perspective. And he talks about how unless unless you just can't control the passions, then get married. And why does he say that? Because as when you are single, you have the opportunity to devote more time to the Lord. You have more time to devote to the things of God, right? And I know some of you might be like, well, we'll glorify God together. What it's saying is, it's really highlighting the fact that in your personal journey, in your personal walk, there are certain things that your future husband, your future wife is going to require that takes time away from you. And so the importance of singleness being a gift is in this season, we should be developing a deeper, a healthier relationship with God so that when this person comes, right, when that time comes, they are hopefully we encourage each other's pursuits of Christ, right? We encourage each other's pursuit of what God has called them to do, us to do, right? We encourage each other in those things in the Lord to glorify God together, right? But what it's saying is a person who's single is not worried about what their husband, their wife, right? Where you at? Where you going? All these different things. There are less issues to deal with as a single person. And so you have to look at it from that perspective and also acknowledge that there is work that you are doing on yourself internally, right? I know it'll be great when they come. It'll be great. And I'm not saying that you aren't ready. What I am saying is to use this time wisely. Use this time to even travel, to have fun, to understand what it is that you like. What is it that you enjoy? Just you by yourself. So that even when this person comes, you're not trying to explore and find you again. No, because I'm secure in who I am. I'm secure in the call that God has on my life. I'm secure in who He's made me to be. I understand what I like, what I dislike. I know places I like to go. I know my favorite vacation spots, my favorite destinations. I'm not waiting on some man or some woman to adventure and do these things with me. Right? I already have a sense of what it is that I like, what it is that I dislike. I know how, when I need space, I know how to do that. I know where I'm going so I can explain, I can express, hey, in this season or at this period of time, I like to kind of chill by myself, read a book, right? I like to be by the water or whatever the case may be. So you understand yourself so that in understanding yourself, it actually helps others. Right? Not just your romantic partners and those that you may be dating or interested in, but it helps them as well to be able to know what it is. You don't want to enter into a relationship and just trying to figure out who you are still, right? You want to be able to say, no, this is who I am. This is what I'm struggling with. This is how you can help me, right? Those things are important. And so the single season is a way for us to discover ourselves, to discover who God has called us to be. And I take it a step further. This is not Bible, but this is Chae, right? I'll always try to make that distinction clear. But especially as a man, I'm talking to the brothers here, especially as a man of God, I personally don't believe that you should invite a woman into your space until you have some sense of an idea of where God is calling you or where it is that you desire, where it is that He is leading you towards. To enter into a relationship without having a glimpse of that or having an understanding. Now, that is not to suggest that this young lady, this young woman of God comes into your life and she's able to help cultivate and speak into your life and speak to who you are called to be. And that pushes you and thrusts you on the trajectory at which God has you on. I'm not negating the impact of a woman there, but I'm saying as a man who is supposed to lead, who is supposed to provide, who is supposed to be the priest of the home, you need to have some sense of where God is calling you. You actually need to be in your word, in relationship with God, because not only does it make you more attractive, fellas, I'm trying to help you there to the women of God, and that's not the only reason, that's not the most important reason, but as you are led by Christ, He will actually show you who is equipped to handle where you're going, who is equipped to be there, who is suitable for Him, right? When God made Eve for Adam, He said, I will make a helpmate suitable for him. Y'all know that he that finds a wife finds favor and obtains a good thing. I did a podcast a couple years ago where I encouraged the ladies to say, my name is favor, because when I walk into your life, when I come into my husband's life, he obtains favor. My name is favor. I need some women to go ahead and type in the chat, my name is favor. My name is favor. Type into the comments, my name is favor. Right? Because you have to understand, let's switch gears to the ladies. You have to understand the value that you bring. Right? And I get the comments, what do you bring to the table? I am the table. No, what do you actually bring to the table? It's okay. You're fine. You fine as wine, girl. You fine, you bad, you all of that. But are you filled? Right? Can you pray? Can you speak it? Will you speak into my life? Will you speak into the man of God's life to help him see not just some cliche things, not just will you speak to the king in him when he's still in the field? Will you speak to that man? Right? Especially when the world tends to beat up men and there's a lot of pressure on the man, right? Not saying that there isn't pressure on you women as well, but as men, if you want him to be vulnerable, are you going to provide a safe space for him? This episode is going down a totally different way than I thought. Thank you, Holy Spirit. But are you going to provide a safe space for him? Because if you want if you want a man to be vulnerable with you, are you providing a safe space for him? Or are you going to throw in his face what it is that he shared and was vulnerable enough to share with you? Right? What makes you any different? Right? So let's get back on track here. And so then we read that 1 Corinthians 7 verse 17, right? Where in the Message version, it says, God, not your marital status defines your life. God, not your marital status defines your life. And that is something that you have to ingrain into your spirit, into your mind, into your heart, to know that God, not your marital status, defines your life. And so many may be waiting on bae to pull up. You waiting on your man. You may waiting on your woman to do certain things. No. Be all that God has called you to be in the season that you are in. Stop waiting. Stop making excuses for what it is that where God is calling you. Perhaps it's when you take the step to be who God has called you to be, that he introduces you to someone who's available, who's equally yoked. We're going to touch on that in a second, who's pursuing Christ at the same pace as you. But because you're waiting, like, well, I don't want to get too far down the road because, these men a trip, or he's not going to be able to handle my call. He's not going to be able to do this, or she's not going to be able to do that. She's not going to be able to go. No, you start walking in the path that God has placed you on. You start walking in the fullness of God that he has for your life, and allow that person who's equally yoked to find you. Right? And so let's talk about equally yoked really quick, because we know that 2 Corinthians 6 verse 14 says, do not be unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship has righteousness with lawlessness, and what communion has light with darkness? I think the issue is a lot of times, particularly it happens in both. I hate to make generalizations, but particularly women make compromises because of many factors. It could be loneliness. It could be, this clock issue, right, with bearing children and those things, right? And you get impatient, and the first man or the one that shows up to church and looks pretty decent is interested in you. And you start to make some concessions on your convictions. And so I want to encourage you that there is somebody you have to okay. So I touched on it a little bit, but in the last week's episode, but You have to be so secure in the God that you serve to know that he will not leave me nor forsake me. And if my desire is to be married, my desire is to raise a kingdom family, my desire is to have a husband one day, to have a wife one day, I have to know that my God shall supply all my needs according to his riches and glory. So stop making concessions. Stop diluting who you are. Stop compromising on things. Are there things that you will have to compromise in a relationship? Of course. But stop compromising on things. What are your non-negotiables? What is a deal breaker for you? Are you okay with someone who just shows up to church but doesn't have a relationship with God? Because a man in church, a woman in church is different from a man or woman of God. Are you okay with those things? What are your non-negotiables? Do they have to have a degree? Do they have to be 6 foot? Do they have to be, all the superficial stuff, right? But what are the true non-negotiables? What is important to you? And what is important to you matters. What aren't you willing to compromise? You have to define those things. Let me look at some of my notes here from the Millennial Give Light Conference as I explain these things, because some of this is already in there. And I just want to highlight it again. Because, so what are those things that you aren't willing to compromise on? It may be he don't communicate well. She don't communicate well. She don't text back, right? It's showing inconsistency. It's showing the pattern is proving that you aren't compatible. Okay, these things matter. Is there something about them, right? And so let me talk about some things that you should look for in terms of their walk, in terms of who they are, and what is important. We can't negate attractiveness, and that attractiveness is to you and you alone. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? The saying is. And so you have to understand what is attractive to you, right? Understand what you like. And for men, especially who are more sent or more focused on the outward appearance, there's nothing wrong with, liking what you like. But understand that there are some internal things that have to be important too, right? Do they display the fruit of the Spirit? Are they patient? Are they kind? Are they long-suffering? Right? Do they display those things? Those things should take priority. Those things should take precedent. Do they have a relationship with God, or do they just show up to church? And if you're the person listening to this right now that you say, well, I'm the person that just shows up to church, so how do I know if I'm unequally yoked? How do I not be a stumbling block? And it's not just about church attendance. So let me get the works-based mindset out of that. But it's about developing that personal relationship, spending that personal time with the Lord, and wanting to grow and develop in God, right? And so when I talk about being unequally yoked, I want to provide a somewhat of a definition of what that means to me. To be equally yoked is to suggest that there is equal pursuit of Christ. Equal pursuit of Christ, right? There's an equal pursuit of Christ between both parties. And so it's hard to define it in levels, right? Or maturity. There may be certain things, because there may be certain things with where you are now. There may be some areas where you're a little more mature in than your potential partner, the person you're dating, right? You may have more of an understanding of God as Father. They may have more of an understanding of the Holy Spirit. They may have, and y'all may be equal on the divinity of Christ and have a revelation of Christ, right? There may be certain things where they understand more of the gifts of the Spirit, and you understand salvation or something. I'm just throwing out examples. So equally yoked means I have a pursuit, I have a desire that is both equal and healthy for this relationship to be conducive to where we're going. Okay. The next thing I want to look at is there has to be compatibility and connectivity. Are y'all compatible? Can y'all hold a conversation with each other? Right? There, a lot of times I get asked this, or used to get asked this a lot, is what do men want, or what is it? How do I know what a man likes, or whatever? And my response is always ask him. Because every man is different, every woman is different. There are women who don't like flowers. There are men who don't play video games and don't like sports. So you have to understand, what is it about this person that you're interested in? What is it? Is there compatibility? Is there connectivity? Can y'all talk about subjects that are important to both of you? Maybe you aren't as interested in the subject, but you're intrigued enough by it to carry a conversation. Right? This does not just mean the same TV shows and shows that y'all watch together, right? But having someone who, I like to say it like this, who can turn you on mentally just through conversation, right? You're intrigued by the conversation. It's not just about the physical appearance. It's about mentally, are we compatible, right? If he wants to talk about, I don't know, I'm an IT guy, so let's talk about, if he wants to talk about computers, it's not that you have to know everything, but are you intrigued enough to listen to him talk about how AI is changing the game, right? And how AI is changing the world? Are y'all compatible enough to have conversations about different things, and are intrigued by similar things, right? And so let me speak to this really quick. And I really want to talk to the men on this one. But it goes both ways. Again, I don't like making generalizations. But men, please make your intentions clear. Make your intentions clear. Stop playing with these women. Stop playing with these women of God who are serious and desire a relationship. If you are not ready to pursue her purely, wholly, and commit to her, leave her alone. Stop playing games. Be intentional. If you're not ready for a relationship, make it clear, right? Make it clear that I just want to kick it. I just want to be friends. Make that clear, right? Same thing for you ladies. If you aren't looking for anything serious and a man asks you on a date or whatever, make it known that, hey, I'm not looking for anything serious right now. If you still want to go, that's cool. If you don't, I understand. Whatever the case may be. But let it be known. Stop playing games with people. Stop leaving people on red because you're not interested. Stop ghosting people because you're not interested. Right? This is a very practical episode. I'm sorry. Right? But be realistic. Be true with what it is that you desire. Be straight up. Be honest. Be open. Say, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what it is. Right. I think it's important that you also, as you're dating, as you're entertaining the thought of being in a relationship, that you discuss each other's past. Yeah, discuss each other's past. Because there may be some things that you may not be okay with your potential partner having experience. I'm going to just leave it at that. And you can imagine, you can think of some of the things. And it's okay, right? The person, and if you're a person with an extreme past, do not worry. The person that God has for you will look beyond your faults. He will wash you with the washing of the word, ladies, right? She will love you. Even if you have a child, even if you have done some things that you aren't happy with, as long as the pattern is changed, right? And you're open, you're honest, and the pattern that you show and the consistency that you show, you may have a history of cheating, right? But you show that you're committed to her. Be open, be honest about those things. Like I said earlier, discuss what you're working on. Be honest about, hey, I'm not perfect. These have been some issues. Now, these conversations may take place further along in the development of the journey, but understand, hey, this is where I'm at. I don't I had some anger issues in the past, and I'm working on that. Or I've had trouble opening up to people, and I'm trying to be more vulnerable, right? So be open, be honest about what you're working on, and I think that those things make your relationships will be uh, beneficial in your future relationships. Men, it's okay to be vulnerable, right? The right woman, hear me, the right woman will provide a safe space for you to be able to open up, to be able to share. You don't have to carry everything on your shoulders. You don't have to internalize everything and then blow up when you can't handle anymore. The right woman will help steward your emotions, your vulnerability, right? Ladies, the right man will be able to communicate he'll be able to speak to those insecurities and help you feel confident in who God has called you to be. He'll see you for who you are. He'll speak life into you. He'll nurture you. He'll wash you with the washing of the word. Don't compromise. Don't settle. If there's anything you get out of this episode, don't settle. God has someone for you if that is your desire. He has someone uniquely crafted, uniquely designed to handle you, suitable for you, right? I know this episode took so many different twists and turns. I honestly didn't know where it was going to go. I knew there were some points I wanted to hit on. I probably didn't even hit on all of them when I look at my notes. But that's going to do it for this episode, because when I talk relationships, these have been the longest 2 episodes that I've done by myself in a minute. So obviously there's a grace on my life to talk to singles, to talk about relationships and dating. And so I want to encourage you that wherever you are, right, no matter what it is that you're experiencing, that you know that God is with you, right? Trust that God. Trust him enough to know that what he has for you is for you, and his timing is perfect. So that's going to do it for this episode. As always, make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast on whatever podcasting platform you're listening to it on. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the social media sites at Cole Therapy. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, right? Ladies, go ahead and comment. My name is Favor. Men, don't be shooting your shot unless, whatever. But yeah, that's going to do it for this episode. As always, I am your host, Chae Cole. And until next time, don't forget to, I almost forgot about this. New Bible plan just dropped on the YouVersion Bible app. Y'all, I'm super excited. I'm super grateful to the Lord for what he's doing. Identity, value, purpose, Bible plan on the YouVersion Bible app. It's only 5 days. I try to keep it relatively short so you'll actually read it. And so make sure you support that as well. And thank you all for everyone who tunes in, who watches, who likes, who comments on whatever post or supports anything that Chae Cole does through Cole Therapy. And that's going to do it for this episode. As always, I'm your host, Chae Cole. And until next time, peace.